Okay, folks, welcome to Section 5. Section 5 is going to be all about investing in stocks. So this is a big section because stocks are generally the first kind of financial investment for most investors. If you're new to financial markets, you're probably going to enter with stocks. You would like a certain stock, perhaps that you know of, or it might be in the industry that you work in. Now, there are, of course, other instruments that are stocks related, like ETFs and mutual funds. But the first kind of investment generally is stocks. So let's get right into it and briefly talk about the fundamentals of stocks. Stocks give you ownership in a company. So even if you have one share, that one share represents ownership in the company. Stocks may be eligible for dividends. There are certain companies that will issue dividends on a quarterly basis. So for your one share, the dividend might be 10 cents if the company issues dividends. Now, not all companies issue dividends, but if you go for some of the older, well-established companies in the industrial sector, even some technology, Apple has just now started issuing dividends as well. So you might be eligible for a dividend for each share that you own, and that will be announced on a quarterly basis. Now, like I said, only a small percentage of companies issue dividends, and we'll look at what criteria are used to determine whether a dividend is going to be issued or not. Now, stocks are also generally priced based on fundamental analysis. So if you just look at a stock's price, that price generally reflects the fundamental value of that stock. So it's not based upon some technical chart pattern or anything like that. Stocks generally are priced based upon fundamental analysis. If their growth prospects and the company prospects increase pursuant to every quarterly earnings report, then the price of the stock is going to go up. If it looks weak, then the price of the stock will go down. So every quarter, a company issues earnings, and that earnings determines how the stock will trade for at least until the next earnings report. Now, obviously, stocks can be influenced by news, by rumors, and by sentiment. So if some company is a big takeover target, for example, then the price of that stock is going to go up, because usually when one company acquires another company, they pay a premium so that the shareholders of the acquired company will easily agree to this acquisition. Similarly, if there is a lawsuit, or if the company is involved in some oil spill or some bribery scandal or something like that, then the price of the stock is going to fall. Now, as we saw earlier, price to earnings ratio is a key metric by which most fundamental analysis is based upon. If you're going to do fundamental analysis, you want to look at price to earnings ratio, you want to look at the peer group as well and see how it matches up, because sometimes stocks can be overvalued or they can be undervalued, and you can make that kind of a decision based upon price to earnings ratio, based upon the earnings growth, and also their quarterly results that they put out every 3 months. Every company and every stock has insider holdings. So this is the top management, the ownership, they're deemed to be insiders. And so you might want to keep an eye out whether insiders are buying their own company stocks or they're selling. And this kind of information is also available. Short interest, also we discussed earlier, is the amount of shares that are shorted in this particular stock. So if there's a very high short interest, then more investors feel that the stock is overvalued. And if there's a very small short interest, then it's either rightly valued or perhaps even undervalued. Now, stocks belong to industry sectors. So for example, we'll have technology, financials, consumer discretionary, consumer non-discretionary, industrials, utilities. There's 10 sectors, and we'll take a look at them. And finally, I want to mention that every stock is different. So each stock has its own volatility. So how much it moves on a weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis is determined by the volatility. So rather, the volatility is calculated based upon how much the stock moves on an annual basis. There is also a concept called beta of a stock, and I'll show you on the platform what that means. How much that stock is correlated to the index that it's in. So let's say we're looking at an S&P 500 stock, And if the S&P moves up 1 point, how does this stock behave? Is it a high beta, which means for every $1 that S&P moves, perhaps this stock moves $1.50? Or is it a low beta stock? So if it's a low beta stock, it'll be a value between 0 and 1. And in that case, it's deemed to be low correlation with the index. So let's take a look at some of these on the trading platform. So this is of course a chart. Now I'm going to pick a stock. Let's just pick Apple to be consistent. And you can see that Apple just released earnings just a few days ago, maybe a couple of weeks ago. It announced an earnings per share of $3.28 on 126 right here. $3.28. The market was expecting $3.23. You can see that in bracket EST. And so it came out with 3.28, which was better than what the market was expecting. However, the stock seems to have gone a little bit flat, and now it's come up a little bit. Today, it's a little down. It beat the market's expectations, and therefore, in general, that is a bullish sign. You'll also see this dollar sign in green with 52 cents. Now, that's the dividend. Apple issued a dividend of 52 cents per share on the 4th of February. If you owned 100 shares, you would get $52. If you own 1,000 shares, you would get $520, and that would go straight into your brokerage account. We also discussed some of the other terms. Let's go look at it. This is an option chain, but don't worry about that. Let's focus on this top part right here. These are all some of the fundamentals of the stock itself. Now, first of all, you'll see the last traded price, and of course, it's a live market, so it's changing. Then net change is just what the change is for today. There is something called a bid and ask offer. There is a size, there's a bid size and an ask size. The volume is very important. It's traded 25 million shares today. It opened at this price, the high was this price, and the low was 96.41. The yield is the dividend yield. So when you have a dividend of 52 cents, you can see the dividend right here, and that is deemed to be a 2.16% dividend yield on an annual basis. Its price to earning ratio, PE ratio, is 10.27. Dividend frequency is quarterly. It'll also show you its 52-week high and 52-week low. Now, here you can see its beta, the beta in the corner right here. Its beta is 0.9376. So it's almost perfectly correlated with the S&P index. So if the S&P goes up 1, Apple should, on an average, okay, so this is an average. It's not going to do this every day. On average, its beta is 0.93, so it should move by $0.93. Now, this beta is calculated on a 12-month basis. So they look at the past 12 months and see how Apple's price has performed with the S&P, and then they calculate this beta. Today, Apple might be behaving very differently. We don't know. On an average, over the past 12 months, the beta of Apple has been 0.93. So for every $1 move in the S&P index, up or down, Apple's going to move in the same direction by approximately 94 cents. So that's what all of this means. And on the trading platform, you'll see that you'll get all this information right here. We'll be coming back to some of these as we go along. This is basically the stock fundamentals. And so if you wanted to buy the stock today, you can come right here and say buy. It'll put an order entry there. Automatic or the default value is 100 shares, but of course you can change it. And what price you're willing to give. There is a mid price, there is a natural price. The mid price is basically the price between the bid and the ask. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But these are some of the fundamentals of stocks. Now let's move on and cover some more concepts and come back and actually do a couple of trades now.